morning, everyone, and welcome to the second day of the conference, Challenges, Opportunities, and Reflections on ELT. My name is Pamela Tavallo. I'm a 7th semester student in the major English language teaching at UNAE. Today, I will be hosting this workshop number 6, and for me, it's a pleasure to present today's speakers. They are Jessica Elizabeth Ochoa Delgado and Luis Andrés Peralta Sari. Jessica is an English teacher majored in English language and literature from University of Cuenca. She holds a master's degree in applied linguistics to teaching English as a foreign language. She is a teacher in the U.S. Embassy program called Access, which gives scholarships to high school teenagers. She belongs to the faculty of the English department at UNAE. And Andres is an English teacher with a bachelor's degree in English language and literature from University of Cuenca. He is also a master in science focused on curriculum and instruction from Kansas State University. Currently, he is a professor in the major English language teaching at UNAE. Today, they are presenting using Jamboard as a way to reinforce students' vocabulary. Also, remember that you can write your questions, comments, or doubts in the chat, and at the end, the presenters will answer them. Now, let's welcome Andres and Elizabeth. You may begin.
Okay, good morning with everyone. Welcome to this workshop. Thank you very much, Pamela, for that nice introduction. So today we're going to work with Jamboard. Probably some of you already know about this platform, and also we're going to give you some ideas on how to use when you are going to enhance students' vocabulary. So here we have the objectives of our workshop. The first one is to offer EFL teachers ideas on how to implement Google Jamboard in an English class. Right now that we are working in this online mode, so and also to enhance students' vocabulary. So the specific objectives, the first one is to get teachers familiarized with the tool. The second one is to provide teachers with ideas of activities. And finally, we're going to give you a space to experiment and to practice with this platform. So hope you enjoy it and hope you can be useful for you. Okay, let's start. We're going to start our presentation with a poll. So please, I would like you to go to menti.com. So please, if you just look for menti.com, and then you can use the code that we have there. So 4004425. I'm going to give you a minute, so please, so you can get into that platform. Okay, so in this platform, so we are going to answer a question. And the question is, how familiarized are you with Jamboard? So we really wanted to know if you already use this app. So probably some of you have already used it a lot. Some of you have used it several times, or probably use it rarely in class, or probably you have never listened about this platform. So it will be important for us to know about it so we can actually have an idea on how to work with you. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds so you can answer to the question. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much for participating here, voting. And we can see here in the results that 17% of you use it Jamboard all the time. So that is really nice because today we're going to give you some ideas on how to use this platform. If you have already used Jamboard, if you know how Jamboard works, it's going to be easier for you just to adapt those ideas to your online lessons. Also, 50% have used it several times, and some of you have used it rarely, and 13% don't know what Jamboard is. So for those people who have never used Jamboard, today we're going also to show you how to use Jamboard step by step. So don't worry about it. So let's start. Okay, so Andres is going to explain you right now how to use Jamboard step by step.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Good morning with everybody. So first of all, I'm going to explain what Jamboard is very briefly. Okay, so Google Jamboard is a digital whiteboard that allows for remote collaboration on a shared space. So here, the students can bring in ideas, can solve problems, work on projects collaboratively, and the most importantly, synchronously, because since we know that now we are going through these virtual methodologies, we have to have a space where students can work together and in real time. Okay, so right now I'm going to show you what tools you can find on Jamboard. Okay, so you have different tools that you can use depending on the activity that you have planned to do with your students, and they are very easy to use. So you have a pen, you have a marker, you have a highlighter, you have a brush, you can add sticky notes. The students love to work with the sticky notes. You're going to see some examples in a moment. Also, you have an eraser. You have the option to add images, a laser pointer, and also Jamboard offers the opportunity or the possibility to download your work as a PDF or also save it as images. So right now I'm going to show you a very quick example of how to use each one of the tools. Okay. Okay. So here you have the basic Jamboard screen. So here you can find all the tools on the left side of your screen. Okay. As I said, you have here the pen option. If you click here on this little arrow, a menu is going to show. So you have different options for the pen. You have the normal pen, a marker, a highlighter, a brush, and here you can also choose different colors. So for example, I'm going to use the marker now, and I'm going to choose blue. And then here, your students can sketch, draw, write anything that they want, okay? If for some reason your students have made a mistake or they didn't need to use the marker or the pen for the activity that you have planned, they can also have the option for erase them with the eraser tool, and you can correct those mistakes that they have made, okay? Also, as I told you, you have the sticky note feature when you can also choose the different colors here, okay? And obviously you can just type in any information they want to. You click on save, and then here's your sticky note. You can move them around, you can resize it, you can make it bigger, smaller, you can also rotate it if you want to. You can make copies of the same one. You can click again and you can change the information there, or you just click on delete and you can erase them as well, okay? The next one is the image option. And here you have different types of ways to upload images. So the first one is that you can choose pictures or images from your own computer. So just click here on search, and then you can look for your images on your folders, and then add it to the board. Also, you can use your camera, but I think the most useful way to include images in the Jamboard is by doing a Google search for images. For example, if I click here Now you're going to see all the images on the web. Just double click on one of them, and then it is going to appear on your board. So for example, again, with this one, you can resize it, you can rotate it, you can move it around. Very useful. The next one is shapes. So again, click on this little arrow here. Then you have the different shapes, like a square, a triangle. Okay, so I'm going to choose the square now. And here on top of the screen, you have additional options. For example, the color of the border of the shape, and also the color of the shape itself. So here you draw it, and then you have, again, you can move it around, resize it, rotate it. Very useful. The next one is the text tool. So you just click anywhere on the board, and then you just type any information that you need. Again, you can resize it. You can also change the types of colors, the types of text that you want, the color you want to make the center. Very, very nice. And finally, here you have also the laser pointer. And this is a very useful tool in case you have prepared a lesson on Jamboard and you're actually teaching your students with this platform. So you can just point of what your students want, what your students want to focus on, and very useful. Right. So as you can see here, probably it's not very nice now because it's just like a white background, but you can also change the backgrounds here, okay? So if you go here and say establecer fondo or change background, so you can click here and choose any of the default backgrounds that come with Jamboard, for example, this blue one here, or you can also change and upload your own background. Again, you can look in your own computer, or you can also do a Google image search. For example, you can say background. And then you can choose one of these. I'm going to choose this one here. So just double click, and then you're going to have a new background for your board, right? If you want to delete everything, you just can click here on the borrar marco, and everything's going to be deleted. But if you made this by mistake, you just click Control-Z, and everything is going to be back. Another important thing is that since Jamboard allows for collaborative work, here, if you click on this arrow on top of the screen, you're going to see the different boards that you have created. You can create up to 20 boards, okay, with different activities for your students or with the same activity duplicated. For example, let's suppose that your students need to work in the same activity and you divide them, your students in groups, and probably you want to use the same template or the same activity for your students. So you just click here on duplicate, and you're going to have the same Jamboard for different students, okay? So this can be useful when your students need to do some posters, some collaborative work, some projects, so they can work individually on each group on their own Jamboard. Also, if you need something to be removed, you just click here and delete. Also, there's a possibility that you can move these. You change the positions of this, the order of the boards that you want them to appear. Very easy to use. What else? So here, if you click here on these three dots, you're going to have more options, additional options, like to rename the Jamboard. You can download this as a PDF. For example, if you, as you're going to see, if you practice your students doing posters, flashcards, probably you want them to have them in their own devices for later review. So probably you can download this as a PDF and send them via WhatsApp or via email, anything that you as you work with your students. Or also you can download these as images. So finally, how you allow your students to go into these platforms and collaborate together. So click here on share or compartir. And after this, you have to do just 2 easy steps. So here, The first thing is that you have to change the permissions of the app. Okay, so here you have to choose the permissions. Instead of reader, you make sure that you click on editor. So everybody with this link is going to be able to enter the Jamboard and collaborate. So add the sticky notes, add text, add colors, and so on. And finally, you're going to copy the link here, and then you send this link to your students, again, via WhatsApp or any means that you use with your students. So that is a brief introduction of what Jamboard is. Probably if you are not familiar yet with this, at the end we're going to have an activity when you can actually experiment how an activity actually looks like, okay? So right now, we're going to continue with our presentation. And for you, we have prepared 10 activities, obviously based on vocabulary, remember, and these can be used for any stage of the lesson. They can be used for the presentation part of the lesson, for the practice, or just for the review part of the lesson. So it will depend, obviously, on how you plan it with your students, on the level of your students. So you always have to keep in mind that this can be adapted depending on your own situation. So we have the first activity that is called What Do We Know About? And Jessica is going to explain about this.
Okay, so I think that most of you have used this kind of activities in face-to-face classrooms. So what do we know about is the same as brainstorming, okay? So students obviously are going to be asked to add ideas based on their previous knowledge, and this can be used as a consolidation of their learning of a determined topic. So here you can obviously ask to your students to use sticky notes or any other tool or text. So students will be adding or brainstorming about certain topic. So here I have an example that I have done with one of my group of students, and they were working on weather, for example. So you can write there any other topic that you're working with them. So students started to add related words based on that topic. What is important here is to ask the students not just to add words, but also to add images. Remember, when we are working with vocabulary, it's very important to add images, because students need to create that relationship between a word and an image. So when a student actually know the meaning of the word, so they actually know how to represent that word. So please, in the comments, I want you to let me know if you have already used brainstorm. So if you have used brainstorming or what do we know about activity, just write yes, okay? If you have never used it before, just write no. I'm pretty sure that most of you have used this activity, and it is very nice because students can also remember previous words that they have learned last lesson. Okay, so this is the first activity. Let's continue with the second one. The second one is called check-in, okay? So I don't know if you have used the exit ticket, but the exit ticket is an activity that is mostly used at the end of the class in order to summarize the lesson or to ask about opinions for students. This is the contrary. This is used at the very beginning of the lesson, okay? You can use Jamboard in order to ask students a question at the very beginning of the lesson. It can be as a warm-up, or also you can use this activity in order not to waste time, because sometimes what happens to teachers is that at the very beginning of the lesson, while we're taking attendance or while we're waiting for students, we used to waste like 5 or 10 minutes at the very beginning of the lesson. So we don't want that. So that is why these check-in activities are very useful. So for those students who are punctual, you just show a question for them and they start already to use English. So Okay, so here I have an example that I have used with my 4th level class. So the question was the following. If you were an animal, what would you be? So here students started to add an image of an animal and obviously the word. So in this case, as I said before, it is very nice because students can have the image and also the word. So when you're learning vocabulary, you always make connections between meaning and the word. After that, students, once I finish taking attendance, I ask students why they chose that animal. So they are using that vocabulary word in sentences, and that creates obviously a productive activity. And also you're creating rapport with your students. So you've been like creating a nice environment from the very beginning of your lesson. So what we're going to do right now to make our workshop more interactive is I would like you to write in the chat what other questions come to your mind that you can ask your students at the very beginning of the lesson. I'm going to give you 40 seconds, okay? So you can write in the chat the questions that probably you have already used with your students and you can share with other colleagues. And also, if you have never used it before, think about a question that you can use with your students. Okay, I'm going to wait.
All right. Yep.
Okay, so right now what we're gonna do is, please, can you show me, Andres, the real check-in activity? Okay, so here we have a check-in activity that we, actually this is not ours, but we found online. And that is why it's very useful, because if you look for materials online, you will find a lot of templates, okay? A lot of templates that you can use in your classrooms. Here I'm going to show you how many questions and templates we could found when you use this activity. So here you have about the animal. And here I have what is one word that describes you, for example. Okay, so this is another question that you can use at the very beginning of your lesson. Here I have another one. What is your favorite movie, for example? So students start to just write their favorite movies or add images that represent their favorite movie. Next one, please. We have what is your, again, what is your favorite movie? What is your dream job, for example? So you can also know your students a little bit. It's really nice to get to know your students so you can create a nice environment, as I said before. Okay, what is your middle name? If you were a potato, what way would you like to be cooked? For example, this is a very fun activity as well. So I think students will enjoy it. Okay, so that is about the check-in activity.
Okay, so we're going to continue now with the next activities. All right, and the next one is called Four Corners. So I'm pretty sure that you have done this in the physical classroom, okay? The Four Corners activity basically is to put 4 topics on each corner of the classroom so students can go there and start discussing about what they know, add opinions, and have a communicative activity there. So here we have to try to replicate that that activity using Jamboard. Okay, so in this case, the students are going to complete the chart by adding sticky notes with vocabulary they have learned during the whole unit. So in this example that I'm showing here, I'm using 4 topics: weekend activities, TV shows, food, and clothes. And all of these activities, all of these topics were included in one unit of the books that we were using in the university. Okay, so this was kind of a activity to review what they have already known, right? So this is what looked like after they have added their ideas. So as you can see, obviously they put the sticky notes depending on the activity that they wanted to share their ideas to. So for example, if after this activity you can actually do a process of checking with your students if the activities, if the ideas that they have included are in the correct position in the board. Okay, so this also allows the discussion part, the oral part with your students. The next one is called the Frayer Model. So basically what this is vocabulary cards, all right? So you can use this activity either in students, or you can make them work in groups, or even individually as a project or as homework, okay? So basically here is that you provide your students with this template, and here they can type words, like target words that they found in readings, or you want them to learn for later activities. And here they have four sections or 4 areas regarding that word. For example, they have to give the definition. What are some characteristics that word has? They can give also examples, writing sentences, and also not examples. And this is very important because the students need to know when not to use a word. So here you have an example. This obviously was done with a higher level group of students, and the word that we wanted them to practice was speculate. So for example, they work in groups in this case, so they work with other sources like online dictionaries and so. So in this case, they gave the definition for speculate. In this case, also they wrote some characteristics. For example, it is used as a verb, or in this case also it often goes with the word about. Also, they gave some examples, and as I told you, non-examples. As I told you, it will depend on the level of your students, on the number of students, how you organize this. But this is a very important activity for students, because they're actually knowing and studying words in depth, not just memorizing the word and the meaning of the word in our case in Spanish, but also they know everything about the word, the definition, the characteristics, and also how to use and not to use those words. Okay, we're going to continue with the next one.
Okay, so the next activity is called the top 10 list. This is very similar to a ranking activity. So here students are going to be asked to choose their 10 top words, for example, depending on the topic or depending on the situation that you as teacher creates for them. Okay, so here it's also important to mention that this activity is really nice to develop critical thinking while working on vocabulary. Why? Because students need to think about the 10 most important words they want to include in this list. So for example, here we have an example that we have worked with one group of our students. And in this case, I have created a situation for them. So the situation was the following. So if you were in the jungle, which 10 items would you take with you in order to survive? So students were grouped together, they worked in groups, and they started to discuss which are the 10 items, or the 10 most important items they will need in order to survive in the jungle. So this is one example of one group, and they have chosen knife, water, matches, ropes, and the activity doesn't end there. Here also, at the bottom of each box, you can see that the students were asked to give a reason. So why? Why do you think a knife is necessary in order to survive in the jungle? Why water? Why matches? So here it creates discussion, as I said before, and also at the end, students present their 10 top list, and they explain their other classmates why they have chosen the 10 words. I have another example here, and this is from a first level class. And in this case, I was working with family members and also with possessive pronouns. Here, in this case, this student needed to choose their 10 top family members. In this case, the students just decided their 10 top family members, and they included a picture, and also here they included a small description of each family member using obviously the vocabulary they learned during the unit, and the possessive pronouns I asked them to include as well. So remember that vocabulary is not just teaching a word, practicing pronunciation, but it's also using that word in context. So when students got to the last point, when students are using the words, so teachers can be sure that actually students learn the word. Otherwise, if we just make them to pronounce or to repeat or to tell us the meaning, so we are not quite sure actually that students can use that word in context. So that is why this activity from here is very useful as a productive activity. This is another activity, and this is called a synonym anchor chart. So here, students are asked for synonyms. When students are working on vocabulary, they also need, as I said before, to create connections, but not just connections with meaning, but also connections with other words. So in this case, or this template is great to create flashcards when students work in a collaborative way, and they also need to look for similar words or words that have similar meaning. For example, in this example, we can see that we have used the word scared. So students work in groups, and they also use a dictionary. And for example, they have included different words here that are similar to scared. They have used terrified, fearful, horrified, afraid, anxious, stand, for example. In this case, this activity can be very helpful for you before starting a writing activity. When you are going to do writing, you want students to know certain vocabulary if you are working in certain topic as well, or in a specific topic. So, and you don't want them to repeat the same word all the time. So that is why you don't have just to say, students, why are you repeating this word all the time? But you need to create an activity where students can develop that skill of looking for synonyms, and also so they can have more vocabulary when they are using in productive skills like writing or speaking. Also, you can use it before reading, so students can have a better understanding of the text. Okay, so that's it about the synonym chart.
Okay, so let's continue with the next ones. In this case, it's a Venn diagram. So as Jessica have already talked about, it is important also to develop our students' different skills like reading, writing, besides just to teach them vocabulary. In this case, if you use this type of activities like the Venn diagram, for example, students can actually develop their critical thinking skills as well. In this case, probably you are familiar with this strategy. You have two topics. when they have something different and also something in common. So this can be adapted in a variety of ways. Again, remember always this, depending on the number of students, the level of your students, different things that can be applied during the implementation of this strategy. So here, for example, I did this activity with some of my students. I divided them in groups, and in this case, we combine actually two topics, two vocabulary topics. So first, they have already studied and reviewed some vocabulary regarding clothing, and later we started talking about the weather, and obviously they learn about the seasons and so on. So I use this strategy so they can all actually connect that knowledge between clothing and the seasons. So I included two seasons here, winter and summer, and I asked my students to complete this diagram, this Venn diagram, with words, with clothing items that can be worn only in winter, only in summer, and also what can be worn in both. Obviously, this develops students' critical thinking because there is a lot of discussion here. Since they are working in groups, they need to come to an agreement on which piece of clothing suits on each season in this case. Obviously, when you are later reviewing with your students, probably they can have different answers on each section of the diagram. It is totally okay, because remember that this product is the result of a discussion that your students had, and that is actually the purpose of this activity. They are practicing vocabulary, yes, but also they are practicing and developing their critical thinking skills as well. All right, so now the last three activities that we are going to share with you are some games that you can play with your students. We know that the fun element is very important in our classes, so we can have, or we can get our students engaged with a lesson, okay, and with the learning as well. So the first of these games is called Connect 4. I don't know if you're familiar with a physical game. So the only objective of this activity is that you have to connect, or you have to make a row of 4 tokens of one of your color, either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, okay? But here, there is the variation. As you can see here in the example, you have, again, pieces of clothing here. And depending, again, on your level of your students, you can ask your students to do different types of activities. For example, if with children, for example, you can ask them just to mention the name of the piece of clothing that they have here. Probably you can ask them to spell the word. Or if in the case that we're going to show you with Jessica in a moment, probably we can actually make them do something more advanced, like saying a complete sentence using probably even colors, and also obviously the vocabulary that they want to do here. So we're going to show you now how this works. You're going to see that your students are going to love this. So here we have the template for the game. I'm seeing in the chat that some people are asking for these templates. Actually, at the end, we're going to share with you some links when you can find all these ideas, and obviously more ideas that you can use with your students. Okay, so you can see these things can be moved around. So these are my tokens. I'm going to be I'm going to be playing with the gray tokens, and Jessica is going to be playing with the pink tokens. All right. So you, as a teacher, you tell your students to do different activities, as I said, depending on their levels. In our case, we're going to give a demonstration on, for example, doing sentences with the vocabulary, okay? The only thing that you need to remember about this game is that they need to start from the bottom. They cannot put a token anywhere. So they have to start from the bottom, as if gravity we're playing part here. Okay, so for example, you want to start, Jessica?
Okay, so I'm going to start, please. Hopefully, I'm going to win this game. Okay, so I'm going to dress a red dress at my party.
All right, since Jessica did made a good example using the word red dress, so she's allowed to put a token here. Okay, and remember, the idea is to make a row of 4 tokens connected together. Okay, so in my case, I'm going to say, for example, yesterday I bought a pair of orange socks, and I can put this here.
Okay. Today it's a very sunny day, and I'm going to use a blue hat.
So I put her token here. So since I'm seeing that Jessica wants to do a vertical row of tokens, obviously I since we're playing against each other, I need to interrupt her sequence. So for example, I want to do something like this, like my sister wears her black boots all the time. So in this case, I interrupt her her sequence, and she needs to see some other way to connect her other tokens.
That's so mean. Okay, so I need a black pants to wear to my trip.
Okay. So let me see. I'm going to buy a blue coat for Mother's Day.
My sister needs to buy a purple skirt for her party.
What is it? All right, so I'm seeing that Jessica wants to do again a row of 4. So for example, I can say my sister uses a green top all the time. But we know that, for example, in our case, we don't use the word or the verb use for clothing. We use the verb wear. So in that case, I made a mistake, and I'm not allowed to put a token in this case. So Jessica has the opportunity to win the game. Okay.
So I don't know. My mother needs to wear a green sweater. Sweater, is that a sweater? For tomorrow.
All right. So as you can see, she has won because she has 4 tokens together. All right. Obviously, you can make variations of the game depending on the level of your students. The idea is obviously for them to have fun, but at the same time practice the vocabulary they know in a productive way, because obviously they are practicing speaking as well.
Mm-hmm. And it also depends on the topic that you want to include. You can include words there, or you can include pictures. So it will depend on what you want to do. For example, here you have food, or you can, instead of the pictures, you can include words. Okay, so it will depend on you.
Right, so we hope you like that game and you can play with your students. We're going to continue with the next one.
Okay, this one from here is a very popular game that I think most of you have played in your face-to-face classrooms. And I've been missing this game a lot because I didn't know how to play this game in my online lessons. So right now I'm going to show you how to use Jamboard and how to play this memory game using Jamboard. So here, what you have to do is you just need to include the words that you want to practice and also the images that go with each word or that represent that word. Can you please? Yeah, here you have. Even if you please just move one sticky note. Yeah, so there you have. For example, you use sticky notes in order to write the words that you're going to practice with your students, and you add images, and then you use another sticky note in order to cover the sticky notes and the pictures, okay? So it is not difficult to do it, so please try to do it with your students. Right now, also, we are going to play with Andres to see how this activity is done in a real class.
Right. So you can, again, depending on the level of your students, on the size of your class also, probably you can make this, your students work this game in pairs or in small teams, depending on how you organize it, okay? So the most common way would be in pairs. So for this, you're going to add 2 sticky notes, so each one with their names. Oh, sorry.
So please write in the chat, who do you think is going to win this game? Do you want to cheer up Andres or do you want to cheer up me? So please write Andres or Jessica.
Okay, so we have these 2 names now, and as you notice, we have some space here on the sides of the screen, okay? So taking turns, you are going to use obviously the select tool and move the different sticky notes that are there to uncover the words that are the words or the images that are behind. If they match, obviously the person is going to keep those images
as points.
As points, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But,
so do you want me to start?
Okay.
Okay, I will start with, I don't know. Okay, an avocado and an avocado. I'm sorry. This is my first point. Okay.
Right. So that person keeps.
This is eliminated.
And yeah, and that person keeps the sticky
word.
note with the word and the image, and these are points for that person. Okay, so I'm going to try one. Let me see. So it's a tomato. Oh, okay. So in this case, I don't win anything. Want to give it a try again?
Okay. So pineapple. Oh, come on. Can you help me, guys? No. Okay. So I didn't win anything. We need to eliminate these ones from here. Okay, so they cannot bother us in our game.
Okay. So I know where the pineapple was. Yeah. Okay. So I keep these 2. And your students can all obviously keep playing on this until they win, right? Again, you can, if you divide these your group in groups, obviously you can just have to duplicate the boards and obviously assign each pair or each team to a specific board on Jamboard. Okay, so we're almost done with the time, so we're going to finish with the last one.
Okay, so this is called a fly swatter vocabulary game. So this game is a very competitive game where you use a fly swatter. A fly swatter is this object that you can see here, and it is used to hit insects at home. So that is what we are going to do today, and that is what you are going to participate in this activity. So please, if somebody can help us sharing the link of the Jamboard in the chat, and please you can use that link to get into our Jamboard. And here we're going to play with parts of the house and items that you can find in your house as well. So I don't know. We're going to wait for a minute to see if you can join to the Jamboard so we can start playing this game. And then we're going to show you how to play, and you will see that it's very fun. En el chat.
Dimos el link a Pamela.
¿Puedes enviar el link ahí? ¿Qué es eso?
Okay, so if you want to play this game with us, the link is on the YouTube chat and the fixed commentary.
Yeah, people are.
Yeah, so I'm
joining.
seeing some people there. Very good. Thank you for joining. We know that obviously this game is better played with smaller groups, and since now we're having or we're doing this in a conference, a lot of people are going to join. Okay, so what you have to do now, guys. So all the people that could access to the board. So please use the sticky note tool and add your name on it and put it everywhere, anywhere on the board. For example, I'm going to do this. Oh, not this one. So just have a sticky note with your name. Okay, just one recommendation: make your sticky note small, but big enough that you can read your name and you don't lose it. And then you can put it everywhere or anywhere on the board.
Okay, welcome, Pablo. You can make it smaller. Thank you very much for participating. Okay, hi, Vero, Viviana, Nati, Pao. Yeah, make it smaller, please.
Remember to make your sticky notes small.
So nice.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to explain as you are still adding your notes to the board. As you know, there are a lot of people here, and this can be troublesome for you as a teacher. Okay, so commonly during the online sessions with your classes, with the classes, the idea is to separate or divide your class into two teams, and probably you will assign a color to each team. So for example, you divide the class in two teams. So team one is going to be only blue sticky notes, and the other is going to be only green sticky notes, for example, okay? So then you are going to choose two people from each team, and you're going to give a description of one of the pictures here. Remember that in this case, we are working with parts of the house or things that you can find at home. And you give the description, and the objective of this game is to put your sticky note first on the picture that corresponds to that description, okay? So since we don't have much time right now, we're going to play just with 5 people. So those 5 people are the only ones that are going to play right now, okay? So I don't think they are repeated. I don't think so. Okay, so for example, Mika, Hover, Julio, Carlos, and Viviana. You're going to play against each other the first round, okay? So only you are going to play now. Otherwise, we're going to have this as a mess, okay, later. So, all right, so please listen to my description. Remember, the first person to put the sticky note in the correct place is the winner, okay? So remember those 5 people. All right, so this is a place where I cook my favorite food.
This is a place where I cook my favorite food. Remember to put your sticky note on the picture. Okay? Yeah.
All right, so Carlos, okay, so Carlos was the first one to put the sticky note there, and Carlos is the winner for this first round, okay? Congratulations, Carlos. Yeah. All right, so that is the idea. That is the idea. Since we don't have much time left, Obviously, you can keep playing this with your students. As I told you, the idea is to make them practice. In this case, they are practicing also listening because they are hearing for descriptions and they are making the contrast between the meaning and the picture. Okay, so thank you for your participation, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessica and Andres, for your wonderful presentation. It was so interesting and so useful. So now we have one question. Well, due to the time, we're going to answer just one question. And it says, Luis Delec is asking, and it says, how can students use Jamboard if they use cell phones? You know, it is difficult to use it without a computer. Okay, the question is, how can students use Jamboard if they use cell phones? You know, it is difficult to use it without a computer. Okay, well, thank you again, Jessica and Andres. It was an awesome intervention and it was a pleasure to have you with us. So now we conclude this workshop and thank you all for attending. So now there will be a 30-minute break.